All right, good morning. I'm going to talk a little bit about music and meditation. And the prompt for that conversation is actually some very mundane discussion about how my channel is organized. In fact, how my channels, plural, is organized. So I have always had two buckets of videos. One is about music, either the music that I write or music that I'm interested in, and then another set of videos about meditation, often very specific about the practice of meditation. I am a longtime practitioner, and I teach meditation. Um, so a lot of the videos would be about the practice, what it is to sit, to pay attention, um, details about the Tibetan Buddhist practice that I practice, that I'm interested in. So uh, those are two quite different areas of interest. Now, in my scenario, there's a lot of overlap. The whole sequence on Messiaen that I've done uh, is there in part because I think that Messiaen is a wonderful use case, a study example of how music and listening to music and writing music, how that overlaps with the insights and realizations of meditation. That music can prompt um, certain insights, it can point to a certain set of experiences. Uh, and then meditation can help explain those experiences as well as also providing a different path to arriving at like a broader sense of self. Well, you can arrive at that broader sense of self by sitting, paying attention to the breath, observing the nature of thought, and settling into an awareness of natural mind, of Dzogchen. But you can also get there by listening to Messiaen, where he has these repeated, non-retrogradable rhythmic patterns, harmonic structures, modal structures that create this sense of sort of an intersection of timelessness in both axes, horizontal and vertical. So timelessness and stasis, right? And the intersection of that is sort of our perception of these patterns that, if left to their own devices, would run, um, you know, for eternity. When Messiaen writes about the end of time, he's not talking about um, turning the lights off, right? He's talking about eternity, um, where there is no time. That's a. I recognize that that's a dense statement that deserves to be challenged and scrutinized. But that's what I mean. Like, we look at Messiaen, and we can start to have some of the same kinds of conversations that we have when we talk about meditation practice. And similarly, when I think about composition and I think about what it is to have a creative thought, well, why is that privileged? A creative thought is more or less important than any other phenomena that arises without an independent thinker. Where do thoughts come from that my reaction is to write them down? It's interesting, right? Uh, so there's this overlap that that I get to sometimes, but quite often the videos are interesting to people who are interested in music or interesting to people who are interested in meditation. And I think it gets confusing if you come and you're following along with the meditation practices, and then all of a sudden there's 6 videos about 20th century composition, or even worse, videos about my music that you have to sit through. Uh, I think it my thinking has been that it turns away from the practice. And then, if what I'm trying to do is cultivate an audience interested in my music, and then you come in and maybe you're interested in Messiaen and perhaps peripherally interested in what I'm doing, and then I sit and talk for 6 weeks about watching the breath, right? So last year I split the two. I created a separate channel just for meditation. I called it the Burning Hair Sangha. So, it's a cool name. The Buddha, the historical Buddha, uh, in one of the stories, responds to a question by saying, "You must practice as if your hair is on fire." The immediacy of the urgency of the practice. But I realized that then some of the content that got lumped over there, when I talk about like discipline and the rules of life, uh, yeah, those are important for supporting a meditation practice. But um, being able to carve out time, recognizing that it is much better to have consistent engagement rather than sort of these heroic blocks of time. That is as much a part of integrating creativity into life as it is to supporting a meditation practice. And in fact, integrating creativity is an essential part of being human. It isn't something reserved for people with a PhD or people like me who started a PhD and failed to finish it. That doesn't mean that I'm no longer entitled to the act of composition because I failed to finish a dissertation 30 years ago. And believe me, it took a big chunk of those 30 years to let go of that uh, self contained labeling. I think it's vital that we all, as humans, engage creatively with our own minds, our own thoughts. So the line between formal meditation practice and like music theory is pretty hard and fast, but there's this wonderful overlap. And I know it means that there are some of you that come in looking at one thing and then being like, I'm not at all interested in that. And then why subscribe to a channel where half of what is on the channel is garbage as far as you're concerned. So I split the two channels. But what I've noticed is I'm just not doing anything on that other channel. There's like 35 subscribers on the meditation channel, and I know that there was more interest. That those videos were getting uh, they were getting watched more, which means the teachings were getting out there a little bit more. There was always questions that I was happy to get. Um, so I'm going to bring them all back. I'm just going to have the one channel. I'm still going to call it Kaiser Composed because I think that's awesome. And I have the little stick figure of the meditation stick figure that I'm going to use to brand the meditation videos. I don't know if I'm even going to do that. What do I know? But I'm going to turn back on. I never deleted the videos, I just made them private. So I'm going to turn all those back on. And I know there's an audience out there. I know that there are people out there who uh, reside in that same overlapping sphere. And this channel is for you. And, in a month or two, I'm going to release a series of videos on a wonderful composer called Galina Ustvolskaya. Her music is deep and profound and difficult to listen to. Uh, so even within the subset of people who are interested in whatever I might think about classical music, that's going to be a tough sell. But I'm just going to approach it the same way I approach everything, which is this is the only reason I'm looking at something is because I think there's a resonance with what it is to be a human, whether that's composing or writing essays or whatever, painting, poetry, meditation, walking, psychogeography, whatever it is. The fact that it's here, I'm going to assume that the connections are there. But I would like to hear from all of you, particularly if you're now 9 minutes into this video. Um, how do you reconcile? Is it even need to be reconciled? Is there even maybe there isn't even an issue here? Um, I'm not looking to blow up a channel and get 100,000 subscribers, right? I would like to have 100,000 subscribers. What I really want is 1 or 10 or 100 people who are um, coming along for the ride with questions and comments and your own channels and your own ideas, uh, and kind of work it through from there. So for now, I'm bringing back the two channels into one. The Sangha channel is going to stay out there, but like I said, there's only a handful of people on there. And this channel is going to be this, I think, wonderful mix of meditation and music and practice and discipline and sort of all this mashup of different topics that bounce off and reflect, like a mind map, maybe. And some of the areas of the mind map are over here, and they're way off, and certainly very far away from what's over here. But over here is something different, and just kind of let it all percolate and go from there. So, thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, you should, and you haven't subscribed, you certainly should. But shoot this off to 1 or 2 or 10 people that you think are part of your scene, that might want to come over and check out this scene. So, thank you.